Thank you so much for joining my YouTube channel. Love to have you subscribe, right? We have over 1,700 subscribers, pushing the envelope now to get close to 1,800. Totally stoked, not just for the numbers, but more importantly, how valuable and helpful this is for you. One of the things that I always keep in mind when I do these series is when each person watches, what are the things they might be going through in their life and what would be helpful? What would be helpful to them? So I try to keep it really grounded in the Bible because I think that's more helpful than anything. And matching the Bible up with what we do in our daily living, extremely valuable, helpful, and kind of gives us, in some respects, a little bit of a cutting edge, upper edge on some of the normal daily stuff. So we're doing a series called Do You Need Peace? Not P-I-E-C-E, but P-E-A-C-E. Like peace, which passes all understanding. You know, if you remember, there's been some like hymns, Christian hymns about peace. When peace like a river attendeth my soul, no matter what happens, it is well with my soul. And when I think about that hymn, it's an interesting hymn because the gentleman who wrote it was, if I remember this correctly, had just lost his wife and his kids in a huge storm. There was a transatlantic ship they were on, and he wrote this as he was on that ship, talking about the peace of God attending his soul, and him saying, "It is well with my soul," even though he had just suffered tragic, tremendous loss, and he was grieving. And he still said, "It is well with my soul." Which brings me to this question that I think we should all kind of think about and consider. Is peace the absence of conflict? Is peace, is it an external state of being? Is it the absence of conflict? And I think I'd love for you to answer that or think about that, give me some feedback, and usually I ask you a question at the end, but I'm asking it here in the middle for you to think about that. Is peace the absence of conflict? Because I think that we have to appreciate there is conflict, not only in the world around us, but also internally. I find sometimes that I am conflicted. I find myself wanting to act out an emotion, and I'm like, that's not necessarily what I should do. Do I ignore the emotion? Do I dismiss it, try to repress it? What do I do with that? Or if I act on that. So sometimes that's that internal wrestle and struggle. Or maybe there's fear or worry, panic, anxiety. I know people who are given to fear. I mean, that's their bend. They kind of gravitate, and they don't even realize it's kind of instinctual for them. That's their first reaction is like fear. I'm afraid of somebody's reaction. I'm afraid of this bad event, worst case scenario, just like, and fear can be a real challenge to peace. Fear, we can have internal conflict. Maybe you have conflict external, right? And you're in a situation, maybe you're in a group project in a university, and your group, is like, woof, it's tricky because you don't like some of them don't like you don't agree, you think one's lazy or that you're too stressed out and you can't contribute like you should, they're making you feel bad, And so there's all these things where there's an absence of peace, where we have tension, we have stress, we have worry, we have external conflict, we have internal conflict. But I want to tell you that with Jesus, we can have peace in our soul. And no matter what's happening around us, we can still have peace. And Jesus' peace, we talked about it last week, can guard, protect our heart and our mind. We read about that in Philippians 4, verse 7. And this week, I'd like you to consider Colossians 3:15, another verse that Paul speaks about with peace, and it says this: "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts." So last week we looked at the word, and I always say it kind of squeaky, it's like phroureo. Phroureo is the word protect in the Greek, but this is a different word. Another one of these kind of weird, how do you pronounce it? And it's a little tricky because it's the word brabeo. You're like, whoa, what the heck with these weird Greek words. Brabeo, meaning to rule, to rule. The peace of Christ will rule in your heart. Now, I think this is important for us to consider because this word in the Greek, brabeo, means to act as a judge, an umpire, or rule. And I really like this idea, and I find it particularly interesting when I think of like an umpire, right, or a referee. When I think of an umpire, I think of baseball. I like baseball. And I like how the umpire sits behind the catcher, and the umpire calls, when the pitcher throws the ball, and whether it's a strike or a ball or foul tip, right? That's a strike too. But the umpire makes the decision what ball goes, when it goes over the plate, is it a strike? Is it a pitch that he should hit, the batter should hit? Or is it out of the strike zone? It's a ball, right? So it doesn't count towards the pitch. And so I think that's really interesting because when we think about Jesus' peace ruling, being the umpire in our hearts, that means that Jesus' peace stands behind in our hearts and says, hey, that's not a pitch you need to swing at. Hey, that's not something that you can hit. That's a strike, and you can hit that because I'm here with you, and I'll help you swing through, and I'll help you have some contact and make some forward progress. I'll help you move through a conflict, a situation, a difficulty, a hardship. I'll help you walk through that. Let my peace rule. And I think when we agree to let Jesus' peace rule, be the umpire, then Jesus' peace says no to anxiety, no to worry, no to fear, no to being disheveled internally, unraveled, unstable, unsettled. Jesus' peace says, no, it's the rule. It's the final authority. I really think that's important for us, that we let Jesus' peace be the final authority in our hearts. I think if we're not careful, we let other things be the final authority in our hearts, like fear, like anxiety, and sometimes I think we use escapes, right? Amusement, YouTube, we like to use these escapes because we don't want to wrestle or let something in our hearts get, kind of exposed or deal with it. And we look for amusement or distractions. And that's not necessarily Jesus' peace ruling, being the final authority. And so I would invite you today to think about that, to think about what areas in my heart is Jesus' peace not the final authority? In my relationships, in my money management, in my time management, where is Jesus' peace not the final authority? Something really to think about and ponder. I really appreciate you answering that question. And really fun to watch what other people say. And of course, we have respectful interaction, of course, on our YouTube channel. It's really important to me. I know sometimes you don't agree with maybe some of the comments, and that's okay. But we can disagree without being disrespectful or disagreeable. So thank you so much for being gracious with your answers and with the answers to these questions and your feedback among each other. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Make sure you hit the notification bell right there. Thank you for subscribing. And as we finish, I have this really, really fantastic joke for you because, fantastic is kind of an interesting word with my jokes. So I tried to make reservations at the library, but they were all booked. All booked. Wow, I know. But next week will be way better. Thanks again for watching.